If people have a sense that they are in a position to help turn this huge thing around a little bit, doing their own little bit, then that gives them hope, and with hope we can do anything.
The earth is not just for us to squander, it's something to be looked after. And we were talking before, I've got grandchildren, you've got grandchildren, and I keep thinking about what kind of a world are they going to live in.
Well, I'm in North Northumberland. I'm in the village of Belford, where an environmental group has taken up the challenge of climate change. The group is known by its acronym BEST, Belford Energy Saving Together, but is it succeeding? Is BEST doing its best for Belford? Have you two heard of BEST?
No.
No.
I think I have, yes.
Yes.
So, do you think saving energy is important?
I certainly do, yes.
I think it needs to be controlled a lot more now, you know.
If we start right at the beginning of Scripture, Genesis, and we look at the implicit relationship and explicit relationship between people, our Creator, and the world around us, people around us, and the earth itself, then there's a very clear injunction there that we should be good stewards of God's good earth.
The village could be virtually self-sufficient, I think.
This prominent building in Belford was initially built with energy saving in mind.
Yeah, we moved in 1989 when I retired, and we started planning over the next year. And in those days we were interested in energy saving, so we tried to build a house that was, in those days, was the right sort of standard. And in fact it's insulated, it's got to the standard of that time. The big conservatory that we built on, the idea was to use solar heat as much as possible.
Well, with me now is Diana Herbert. Diana's convener of BEST. Tell us something about BEST.
We're aiming to save 10% of our energy within a 1-year period.
Electricity flows into Belford, as with any other village, but has it always been the case?
But after we had a blizzard in 2001 and the power went off for 3 days, we managed to get enough interest to do something about it. We were getting a power cut every fortnight. Now we're getting about 2 a year, which is what we were aiming at.
Yeah. Well, I'm now sitting in one of the greenest houses I've ever been in, most energy-saving devices I've ever seen. We're in the home of Tom and Karen Byrne. We're just north of Belford. In fact, Karen joins me now. Karen, tell me about all these wonderful gadgets you've got and the energy saving that you get through.
Well, we had a project with a group of teenagers to create an eco-friendly house. My husband and I were youth leaders with the Wildlife Trusts, and the teenagers came along to us and said they wanted to create a green house. And they started a research looking into as many green ideas as they could think of. And it was their research that we used to create 2 very eco-friendly cottages. So we've made their cottages into eco-friendly holiday cottages. We've got smaller things in the cottage, an energy meter, an electricity meter, which will tell you how much electricity you're using. Little things like suggesting that people use a short programme on the washing machine, a 1/4 of an hour programme for when children have come back from the beach and they have sandy, dusty clothes. That's all you need.
I was interested in you were telling me you have guests come to stay and you don't charge them for the electricity, but you do monitor what they're using, and the reaction must be quite something.
We encourage everybody to have a look and see how much energy they've used during the week, and to compare how much energy they've used with the people who were there about the same time, either the year before or even just the week before.
Karen took me to see the cottages and the changes she and her husband Tom have made. So this is Newt Cottage, isn't it? And I wonder, what is that little window in the corner there?
Well, once the teenagers had thought about how to create energy to keep the house warm, they then needed to think how to keep all that energy inside the house, all that warmth.
Right.
So they've insulated it extremely well, and that's sheep's wool insulation, which is a very eco-friendly form of insulation.
Really? But that's just to show you?
That little panel is to show you the sheep's wool insulation, so people can see what is behind the walls.
BEST committee member Duncan Roberts gave some advice on the changes to the cottages.
What we're trying to do with groups like this is to make people aware, make people prepared for the kind of changes that are probably going to be happening, and try and build in the kind of systems that will enable people to live the kind of lives that we've been used to, but without this heavy reliance on fossil fuels.
This is science, isn't it?
It
People
is.
don't know about
No.
this science, though, and so
No.
it's your job really to tell us
Well, that's the
where you
great
find
thing.
out these things.
That's the great thing about the cottages. People can come along and see it in action and see
Yeah.
that it really does work. Because you're not going to take a step into the unknown. You need to see things in practice first.
What about your shower, the wee man in the shower? This is
Oh, the little man in the shower. It's called a shower drop meter. So to try and encourage us to think about how much water we're using, this little meter measures the amount of water that's coming through the shower, and when you've reached 35 litres, which is the recommended amount, it beeps. There's a little picture of a man inside the meter, and it fills up. So when he gets right to his head and the water's coming out of his ears, then it beeps, and you know you've used 35 litres.
So here we are, trying to conserve energy, and here's the latest bit to fit into the jigsaw puzzle. We've got a low energy bulb to go into this old fitting up here, which has been on the corner of the building, not used for years. The last old-fashioned incandescent bulb broke ages ago, but here's a nice 50 watt low energy, and it fits into the old fitting like a glove.
But so many houses are depending on electricity for heating that if we could insulate, that would reduce the amount of power used for that.
well, from Hunting Hall, we're back in Belford. We're with a couple of the stalwarts of Best with us. With us, first of all, is David Herbert, of course, the local URC minister, and Roy Dodds, ex-school teacher and one of the founding members of the committee. Roy, where did it all start? Why did it all start?
Diana rang me up and we decided to write letters to Colin MacDonald, who is the man in charge of the trust, and thought it would be a good idea if Belford were a carbon neutral village. There were many organisations in Belford which could work together to help the village to be more conscious of energy use.
Driving your car less, stuff like that, yeah.
Or water. We get all the water for the garden, obviously from the rain. Good water butts.
I recycle rubbish.
Just switching lights off, just try to do your part for the saving environments.
How do you actually measure your carbon footprint? Is this a big job or is it a big deal?
Well, I think once we got started, the idea was that we would try and have some measure of what energy was being used by the village as a whole. So we had a first meeting.
We've kind of wanted it to be an event that everybody can come to, that there's a common ground, and it certainly has worked. And I think the issue about saving energy and saving money is something everybody can appreciate, whatever the age they are.
As part of the Best campaign, The Age of Stupid, a film directed by Franny Armstrong and starring Pete Postlethwaite, was shown at the local church hall.
It was a brilliant film. I actually found it quite scary, to be honest. I mean, it's shocking, really shocking. It's really made me want to change my lifestyle a little bit. I think it's not just for people in the country. Everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to know it.
I think it's a very good film, and I think a lot more people should see it because it's a really important film. We've got to get the message across for the sake of our great grandchildren.
If I ask you, just tell the doubters, tell the skeptics, the deniers, just one message. What would you say to a global warming denier?
You know, it'd be silly if in 50 years' time we were saying, well, I wish we'd had a few more wind turbines. I think we need to do what we can do now while we've still got the opportunity.
And I would just say to people who think, oh, well, it's far too big a problem. I can't, what can little me do about it? You know, I might as well just carry on as I am. I would say to those people, you are part of the problem.
This is a huge issue. It's not a dress rehearsal. We only have the human race once on this planet, and we need to sort it out now, not in another life, but also to say to people, there is hope, we can do something about this, and here's the proof.
Well, thanks very much, chaps. Actually, we're going to meet another member of best. Now we're going to one of the village's industries down at Coastal Grains. We're going to speak to Terence Pardo.
We use diesel, gas oil, or kerosene, and electricity are the main energy uses that we have here.
Started in 1982, Coastal Grains is a farming cooperative owned entirely by farmers for the benefit of farmers.
Like all industry, any part of industry, energy is a huge part of the costs of the company, and they can easily run away with you if you're not very careful, as happened last year when the price of fuel went up to $147 a barrel.
It is estimated that industry on the Belford industrial estate uses as much power as the whole of the village put together. David Morrison.
The industrial side are very aware of this. They could be the focus for developing things even further.
But we've also looked at anaerobic digestion and various other schemes that we have. What it has to be, as far as industry is concerned, it has to be profitable.
And anaerobic digestion, what's that? Explain that to us.
It's been explained to me rather like being the inside of a cow, that it generates methane gas, the cow does, as everybody knows, and you use the gas to generate the electricity through a gas turbine, or burn it, or whatever you want to do. You can use manures, you can use grass, you can use grain if you want to, but that's all fairly expensive pastime.
What do you think of climate change?
It's obviously happening. You see it on the telly all the time.
Last night on the TV, the glaciers in Waterloo, they're all melting, and
I think it's frightening, actually.
And do you think it's important to save energy?
Well, without a doubt.
Do you think
For
it
the
might
future.
affect our climate?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Why do you think it's so important?
I think everybody should do their little bit.
More for the environment, for the global warming. You know,
So what do you think it's doing to global warming?
It's not helping.
The time is running out. The electricity generation that this country relies on is now dependent on very old coal-fired power stations.
Down the coast at Camas, many people are opposed to the construction of a coal-fired power station. But what about Belford itself? Do you think Belford is making a worthwhile contribution?
I think yes. Yes.
Yeah,
it
is.
When it comes to the big stuff, like the big wind generators and things, then we've got a problem, because people will not tolerate whopping wind generators all over the place.
One of the most controversial at the moment probably is wind farms. We've certainly looked at those, and I think that is an option. Not one of these big windmills we have, but certainly the smaller ones.
I work at a recycling centre where people bring that thing in and everything's recycled.
And obviously unplugging TVs, only boiling a little bit of water and not a full kettle full.
Turn your thermostats down.
All our light bulbs, radiators all lagged, boilers.
And what do you do about it?
Very little.
Work has already begun to save energy in this house. This wall is 300 years old, and insulation is being added to the gable end to keep the house warmer. Next door, Jeff O'Connell is having an eco-eye fitted. Sounds clever, but what exactly is an eco-eye?
Yes, the eco-eye.
The principle of the eco-eye is that it measures the amount of electricity that your house or your business or your office is using at any given time.
Second, it's £902 a year.
Ooh.
Fascinating.
So it's a really nice little reminder of the fact that electricity isn't free, that devices that are plugged in but aren't being used are still drawing down some electricity. And this is the bit that, within reason, you can have any distance from the actual electricity main itself.
We've also been able to give a grant of £500 towards the local residents' Christmas lights. committee and they've been great this year, and they've created some new lights and they're going to be switched on this weekend.
A team of 5 of us have been putting the lights up. 2 of the volunteer fire service have been kindly running up and down the ladders, and then the others have been stringing them out and connecting them together, making sure that everything was set for tonight.
There's hundreds of strings of lights, 10-metre lengths, and the decorations have all been redone as well with LED lights as well. So everything's on a low cost, so it's turned out really well. I'm really pleased.
We're using 5% of what we used last year. And all of these lights, actually it's less than that, because we only lit the marketplace last year. This year we've lit the whole village, and it's still only 5% of the electricity that we're using. They are very expensive. They're not cheap at all. I mean, one string of lights, 10-metre string, costs about £35. So you can see that, you know, we've spent about £2,500, nearly £3,000 on low energy lights this year.
I think it's shocking in a way that our governments haven't been doing enough. I don't think they have been at all.
I don't know. I mean, there seems to be general agreement among scientists that there's global warming.
If you say, well, I'll do my little bit and do a bit of recycling, then, or whatever, then you are part of the solution.
With the Eco-Eye, we'd slashed our bills for electricity by 30%.
It would be nice to see the village do something really big.
It just might be enough to help save the planet. It might just be enough to help save you money on your energy bills. But in any case, saving energy, you know it makes sense.